I was a diehard college basketball fan. Diehard. Been to the Final Four times.
Oh,
Been
wow.
to the regionals a lot. I mean, and not as a media guy, as a fan, sitting in the seats. Um, and I had no interest yesterday. I have lost.
Well, there is no great team this year.
No, but Bob, I've lost my passion for college basketball.
I understand that.
I have lost my passion for the game at that level. I had a choice between watching that or watching the NBA game. There was no doubt in my mind what I was watching.
Interesting.
I was watching Dallas versus Denver because it was a heck of a basketball game.
That happened to be a really good matchup, actually. So here's the thing on that. First of all, I think both of you know I when I was at Sports Illustrated, I covered women's basketball. So it's both tournaments for me are interesting, and I love the women's game, and it's become far more interesting in my opinion than the men, right? At least right now.
Now, why is that?
And I'll tell you why. The reason I said that it is something that just Bob sort of just hit on. The thing with American college basketball now is that there are so many players who are just one and done, or there are players who are the highest of draft picks who are playing internationally. Like Victor Wembanyama is a guy we never saw in American college basketball. He went right from France's league into the pros. Same thing with Luka Doncic and many others. And so where once upon a time, like I'll use sort of Bob's era, like you could get into like Anderson Hunt, Stacey Augmon, Larry Johnson. You followed these guys for 2 or 3 years and like you knew who they were. Like you were like if you were a fan of Duke in the 90s, like Christian Laettner, Grant Hill, like they were sticking around at least 3 years. Today, the best player at a maximum is only sticking around for 1 year. And a lot of the best players don't even go to college anymore. So that's, to me, John, where the game is hard, I think, for a casual basketball fan to follow during the year. My one caveat on all this is because of the gambling element and because people like brackets, I do think people will be interested in the next couple of weeks just because you don't really have to know much about it to go to your office pool or a bar and pick teams.
Well, the problem I saw, I took a look at the brackets yesterday. The problem I see is there's no great team.
I agree. There's UConn is the best team in college basketball, but it's not like they are anything, at least in my opinion, like some of the great NCAA teams. Yeah.
And that was one of the interests, always for me, was will anybody be able to knock off whoever it was that had, I was undefeated or had 1 or 2 losses.
Exactly.
And there isn't a team like that right now. Maybe Connecticut, but even they aren't that great.
Yeah, I mean they're a good college basketball team, and they have 2 or 3 guys who will probably be first round picks in the NBA, but not top 5 picks, and not anybody on that team who's at the moment destined to be a star. And so, sometimes people emerge, and that's a cool thing in the tournament. Like there'll be players who emerge during this tournament who, like NBA fans, start to take notice on. But that's where there's a big loss in the NCAA tournament. I don't really know if there is a solution. And it's because the male players don't stick around longer than a year. That's why the women's game has become great. It's because the best players, Caitlin Clark's,
they still stay for 3 or 4 years.
Exactly. Yep. Paige Becker's, Angel Reese, like fans get to know them. And then by the time they're juniors or seniors, you are familiar with them. And not just that, but they become very, very good players.
Do you think there's anything that college basketball can do to prevent guys from playing 1 year and then leaving?
Well, they're going to pay them. Sure.
But even that, John, there's no way a great NBA prospect would stay in college given what you can make in the NBA. I mean, I guess in theory, hypothetically, I just make this up. Alabama, let's say, could pay some dude $10 million, I guess, in theory. Right. But that's just not going to happen. Like the economic incentive is too great for these guys to leave college. There's just too much money to make in the NBA. So, Bob, to answer your question, I don't think so. I don't think there is a solution to this problem outside of, and this is where legal issues would come in, Adam Silver declaring that we're not taking anybody in the league under 20 years old. But how do you do that? You can't, I mean,
Well, I think there's another answer, and that is that the NCAA says that a player cannot play in the NCAA unless they stay for 3 years.
They'll sue and they'll lose. I think the NCAA would lose that in court.